everybody. It is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday night, which means it's time to play That Sounds Right. I'm your host, Misinformation, and with me today is my co-host, of course, Will. Will, are you here in the studio with us?
Oh, I'm here in the studio with you, Misinformation. Hello.
Hello. Will, I want to know, what are you looking forward to tonight?
Oh, as always, I'm looking forward to a good, clean fight, a good, clean run of questions and answers by the contestants that we have tonight, and also just doling out some truth on my end. Looking forward to getting people the right answers to the right questions and answers that they give.
We'll see, Will. We'll see. With us here tonight, we also have our contestants. We have Richard. Hi, Richard. Thanks for being here. We have Gwen.
Hello.
Hello. And we have Rebecca. These three contestants will be competing for the highest honor 2MB can bestow upon you, which is a diploma from 2MB University. Everyone does look so smart. This is going to be a tough competition. Now, as you know, if you've joined us before, each of these three contestants has submitted both questions and answers to the show. I have the questions only. I am going to be asking them one at a time. Our contestants give their answers. One of them will be giving a correct answer. Two of them will be giving answers that they make up on the spot. It is up to me and you, our faithful audience, to determine what we think sounds right. Contestants, are you ready to go?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. Let's get moving on to our first question. Our very first question of the night is, how did Genghis Khan's reign affect the Earth's climate? I'm going to give that question one more time before coming to you for answers. How did Genghis Khan's reign affect the Earth's climate? Richard, I'm going to be coming to you first for your answer.
Yeah, so Genghis Khan's reign actually affected the Earth's climate positively. So he was one of the first people, him and his clan was one of the first people to use biofuel. So they actually used corn, and they started the whole idea. They were way ahead of their time, really, but they started the whole idea of using corn as fuel. And they used it in their weapons, and they used it to help propel their vehicles and everything. People say that it was because of Genghis Khan that we have this idea today. And who knows where the planet might be if he didn't start that idea to begin with, and we didn't have that as an alternative.
Richard, I love your answer, but I'm going to tell you right now, in the comments, 2MB Studios themselves just commented, I smell bullshit. We'll see. We're not off to a strong start, but Richard, I'm keeping you in the running, and I'm going to Gwen next.
Oh, well, Richard is partially right, but only a little bit, only a tiny bit, like 95-5 kind of split. So you're correct that it was beneficial to the climate. It's not a bad thing. Genghis Khan actually did this good thing, and that's what happened is Genghis Khan was one of the first people who, he gave you the choice where he was like, I could decimate you, or you can keep your own culture, but you can become part of my nation. And what that did was it encouraged actually more travel. So that was the first time that you actually got widespread roads and travel because of Genghis Khan. And they say that because there were roads for horses originally, that's what led to our highway systems. That's what led to more travel. So in that way, it affected the climate positively, but also it did create more cars. So long term.
Okay. So your answer is that it affected the climate positively because people were moving around more.
Well, yeah, it spread the idea. It spread ideas. So in that way, it was positive. But like very long term, it was negative because of cars. But it's a little bit of a give and take. So overall, positive effect.
I see. Well, I'm reserving my judgment. We have one answer left. Richard and Gwen both say that Genghis Khan had a positive effect on the environment, but for different reasons. Rebecca, I'm coming to you. What's your answer?
He did. You know, he did have a I would say a net positive impact on the climate. But it's interesting because, initially, in the course of his uniting the nomadic tribes, he killed just so many people. He just killed 10% of the world's population at the time, and this was great in terms of carbon emissions. Unfortunately, he then also doinked so many ladies that we have 16 million modern day descendants of Genghis Khan. So, I don't know, you might call that a toss up, but.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to check with my studio real quick. Can we say doinked? Yeah. Okay, Rebecca, you're all set. That answer, we're going to take that into account. 2MB Studios has ruled we can say doinked on the air. So we've got, so Rebecca, you're saying it kind of the effects balanced out because of the doinking and the killing?
Yes. Yeah. Long term, they were the same.
Okay. Now, audience, I'm going to let you in on something. Last week, somebody asked me if I actually had the answers in front of me and was continuously getting them wrong on purpose. I'm going to let you in on a secret that I am absolutely not. I genuinely am. I'm playing to the top of my intelligence, as they say. So I am truly guessing as much as I can. Get doinked, probably. Thank you, Doctor. Our expert witness, Dr. Crumbles.
Yes, Dr. Crumbles definitely watched Genghis Khan doink.
Absolutely. So, audience, one more thing I'll let you in on is that I take your opinion into account. I absolutely have no idea what the correct answers are, and I love feedback. The audience seemed to really make fun of Richard's answer, but Richard did give a very clear reason why it had a positive effect on the environment. Gwen, your reason, I think, makes more sense that people would be traveling more, but I think that the effect on the climate is a little lost on me. I'm getting lost in the argument there.
Science is difficult, I understand.
It absolutely is. I'm seeing a lot of love for doinking in the audience, whether that is for comedic value or because they believe it's the right answer. I'm going to give our first 5 points for a correct answer or a correct sounding answer to Rebecca. 5 points to Rebecca for the doinking. Thank you very much.
Well, actually, here, I have to say that Rebecca is correct on that one. So you are starting off on the right foot, misinformation. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
It's because we have a doctor in the audience tonight. Will, you must be so pleased.
I am so very pleased. Doinking was the right answer and a great way to start the show. I'm actually surprised that no one said rain, as in like rain from the sky, as a way to affect climate change. Real missed opportunity there, liars. Put those thinking caps on.
So now we have Will actually giving advice to our contestants. That's a brand new thing. I'm going to read out the next answer. Contestants, here it is. Retired businessman Ron Wayne was a founding member of which company before walking away 12 days in? Just 12 days. I am going to read that question again for you. Retired businessman Ron Wayne was a founding member of which company before walking away 12 days in? Gwen, I'm coming to you for your answer.
Yes. Well, Ron Wayne, this is a fun story. Ron Wayne actually founded MGM, and he was one of the founders of MGM. Everyone say hello. You do something? Okay, we're good. Follow and subscribe for Bella. You'll see more of her.
Gwen will be getting points for Bella. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So Ron Wayne did found MGM. And here's the thing. Ron Wayne was not a real person. This is the fun part, that they had to leave 12 days in because actually they were John Wayne and they cast themselves within all the movies. But they did leave 12 days in, and it is true that they founded the studio because John Wayne wanted to be in movies, but the other major film company at the time, I'm blanking on their name, but they wouldn't cast him. So he was like, I'm going to found this company. Then Ron Wayne actually disappeared and was never heard from again.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Bruce Wayne? I'm pretty sure that's...
No, yeah, it wasn't a cave situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gwen, that's a far-fetched story, but I have to say, that sounds right. I'm already feeling pretty confident that John Wayne would try and get a lot of roles this way through a false identity. Rebecca, I'm going to come to you next. It's up to you to convince me otherwise.
Yes, Ron Wayne was actually the founder of Smith & Wesson. I know his name is neither Smith nor Wesson. This is why people get confused. But he entered into this business agreement with his friends. And unfortunately, they had religious disagreements about the direction of the company. And so he left. And that is why it is currently known as Smith & Wesson and not Smith & Wesson and Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what were these religious differences that they had?
Well, Ron Wayne was a Protestant, and Smith and Wesson were both Catholic. And
just like general.
Yeah, they just like this is how things worked back in the day. They didn't really talk religion until they talked business, and once they talked business, they talked religion. And then they were like, "Wait a second, this isn't going to work in the long run after all."
Sure. That sounds a little bit right too, Richard.
So Ron Wayne, was the founder of Apple. He was the third founder of Apple. They brought him on as the third member to bring maturity into the company because Jobs and Wozniak were still relatively young. And he left the company 12 days in because it wasn't the kind of environment he wanted to be in. He had failed some business. He had some failed businesses before. So 12 days in, he owned 10% of the company. And then a few days later, he sold all his stocks for $2,300. And now his amount of stock would be worth like hundreds of billions of dollars.
Wow.
He says he doesn't regret it, but he does wish he stayed until they went public.
Yeah, that sounds very similar to my answer. Three people.
Not
it's essentially the same thing.
All right. I have to say, Richard gave some real specifics. This is swaying the audience. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at the comments and people are hearing Richard's specific numbers and they're feeling very swayed by it. But if you haven't tuned in before, one thing I will tell you is that on this show, the weird answer is often correct. And this gives me pause. I think I know. John Wayne is also very compelling because that sounds like something John Wayne would really do. You know what, Gwen, I'm going to give it to you because right away that sounded like a far-fetched story and one that I think could be correct. Okay. I'm ringing my bell, which means the round is over. I'm giving it to Gwen.
Well, actually here, the correct answer was actually Richard's. Richard was correct on that one. It was not John Wayne. It was Apple.
It could have been. We don't know.
Yes, it could have been.
Apple just sounded like a really, like if you're talking about a company, everybody just thinks we're talking about Apple, right? So I thought that might have been kind of a go-to.
No. So can you give Richard those points, please?
Absolutely.
You got it right.
Not Will. Will, what's the name of this show?
That sounds right.
Did it sound right to me when Richard said Apple and gave all those numbers?
Yes.
It
But you
didn't.
didn't go with them.
I didn't pick Richard. No points to Richard. Sorry, Richard. We continue with our third question and our third round. Our first round. Our third question in our first round, everybody. It's far too early for me to be falling apart. So let's read the question. It is, the rocker Elvis Presley once sold a controversial lapel pin / button. What did it say and why? I'm going to read it one more time. Elvis Presley, the rocker, once sold a controversial lapel pin / button. What did it say and why? Rebecca, you are answering first in this round.
Well, it did say, put your peanut butter in my banana. And this was a reference to his famed love of peanut butter and banana sandwiches. And, you know, he was had a great sense of humor, Elvis, and he thought that this was a fun pin. But ultimately, it was not a hit, you know, with the general public. And, you know, he wanted to remain appealing to the masses. You know, he had a song in his heart and wanted to share it, and so he made the decision to part ways with that particular piece of clothing accessory.
So this was early on in his career, or at the height of his career?
This was pretty early on. Yeah, he had yet to find his footing as like a style icon, and so he was just trying a lot of different things.
Just kind of throwing paint at
even what stuck to the wall. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Richard.
So this pin actually said Elvis forever. And why this was controversial, because this was kind of a controversy that flew under the radar in terms of history for Elvis. But there was one point where Elvis was spouting a lot of stuff about science and how he discovered the secret to immortality and how he was going to be on top of music forever. And people were really questioning him, and people who loved him was like, I don't really think they were starting to have questions about his character and everything. So when he put out the pin Elvis forever, it really divided his fan base a little bit, but his PR people were able to talk to him and then quiet those rumors and then stop the pin from circulation.
And this was because the label, the Elvis Forever, they thought that was too long.
No, they thought it was in a reference to his ramblings about discovering immortality and like all this fake science stuff, and they thought it was a reference to that.
Was it the number 4?
No, it just said forever.
Just forever. Okay.
FOR.
FOR. Yes.
Thank you. Well, Lauren, thank you for your input. I'll take that into account. Gwen, what's your answer?
Well, there were PR people involved, but actually they were the people putting out the pin. You see, Elvis put out a pin that said, I hate Elvis. And it wasn't a self-loathing thing. Elvis still very much liked Elvis. It was that his marketing people were like, who haven't we reached yet with Elvis? And they reached Elvis fans and potential Elvis fans, but they weren't selling to non-Elvis fans. So they made lapel pins that said, I hate Elvis. Elvis is a jerk. Elvis is a joik, if you're from New York. And they made a lot of money. They made $22 million. Numbers.
Oh, so Gwen's learning how to play the game here. Gwen threw in a specific number. Gwen, it's pretty bold of you to say that Elvis put out a pin that said, I hate Elvis.
Well, to be honest, it was bold of Elvis.
You know what? He's a bold guy, from what I hear. I've never met him personally, but I can see it. Honestly, I can see all 3 of these answers. Rebecca's sounded sexually explicit. Richard's sounded like it could actually be a pin, unlike the other 2, which don't quite sound like they have lapel quality.
I don't know. Some people in your chat have said that they would buy my pin.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people are very into the I hate Elvis pin. Maybe that's an idea for the 2MB swag shop, 2MB Studios, an I hate Elvis pin.
I feel like $20 million is way too much back then. That would be like so much money now. I'd be like over $1 billion.
Bit far-fetched.
I feel like that's unrealistic.
Richard, I didn't even think of that, but you're absolutely right. That would be a lot of money on a single lapel pin that says, I hate Elvis.
The man owned a golden toilet.
Yeah. Rebecca.
That's true.
I know that your answer makes sense as to why it would be controversial. Peanut butter in my banana.
Yep.
What I'm getting hung up on is that when you make a peanut butter and banana sandwich, you put the peanut butter on the banana, or you put the peanut butter under the banana. Putting the peanut butter in the banana, you can see physically this is.
I understand, yes, but Elvis's whole thing was that he was kind of the father of modern rock and roll, and it was a very salacious time. I mean, all his hip wiggling that he did, he wanted to sensationalize everything. Everything that he did was very sensational to the public, and so anything that he could do to kind of rile people up a little bit, was to him the spirit of rock and roll.
I agree. but I'm seeing a lot of support for Richard's answer in the chat, and I have to agree. I'm going to give these 5 points to Richard for Elvis Forever, because Elvis was too larger than life.
Well, actually, here it was Gwen who was correct.
No!
It was the I Hate Elvis pins.
It was
Elvis is a joik.
Elvis is a joink.
No.
It's true. And I think I said he made $22 million for merchandise for the year, which included the lapel pins.
Oh.
But it was his marketing team that came up with it because they got 25% of his profits. And so they were like, we need to reach as many people as possible.
You know,
Smart.
that makes sense. And it makes sense why it would be controversial, because I hate Elvis. What a controversial statement.
Yes. So what if we were to just give those points that you gave to Richard and move them on over to Gwen?
You know what, Will? I didn't think that sounded right. I hate Elvis. Doesn't sound right to me.
Sorry, Gwen.
No points. No points for Gwen. It didn't sound right. We're going to move on to our round 2, but not before I say hello to Richard. Richard, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Now is the time where you get to share anything you want about yourself. Could be another show, could be something else you do, could be a fun fact, anything you want.
I'm actually starting training to be a dolphin trainer. That now is actually a really good time because you don't require they just have you wear a headset and they talk in your ear to train you. You don't have to be near anyone, and dolphins can't.
The dolphins talk in your ear?
No,
Oh.
the trainers talk in your ear. And yeah, it's a great time for that.
Wow. That is an excellent fun fact, Richard. I'm getting a question from our audience. Is the dolphin in the room with you right now? Could we potentially see the dolphin?
No, I wish. I tried to get a tank, but tanks that big cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. Which, of course, is nothing to you, but I understand
Right.
the need to be frugal. Thank you so much, Richard, and thank you for being here today. We're going to go ahead and dive into round 2. Rachel says, Richard, is this real? All I'll say is that it sounds right to me, and that's all we need to know on this show. Round 2, everyone. Round 2, question 1. I love this question, and I have no clue what the answer is, so I'm really looking forward to deliberating with all of you. The question is, what color is hippo milk? And why is it that color? There it is. Once again, what color is hippo milk? And why is it that color? Richard, I'm coming to you first.
Hippo milk is green. That's because hippos eat a lot of green vegetation, and then the pigments that cause green in plants are not digested that well in the hippo's stomach. So it flows into other parts of their body, and that's why their milk is green.
That's a terrific answer, Richard. And Gwen thinks it's not, but I'm already trusting you as a dolphin trainer. Dolphin and hippos very closely related. They both swim. Are they? Both gray in color, and they're both largish. So, yeah, off to a great start, Richard. Gwen, I'm coming to you next. Please respond.
Well, everyone knows that hippos aren't actually gray except in cartoons. They're in fact purple, but their milk is pink. And why is that? Well, I'll tell you. Hippo milk is pink because hippos actually have a really tough existence. They live in, first of all, they need to live in water, which where they live is really scarce, but also they eat berries, which again, in their natural habitat are really scarce, and they are big animals. Mm-hmm. So they are constantly searching for food, but they don't in fact eat the vegetation. They actually have a really weird system, and this is why their teeth are like that. They have like 2 big teeth to attack people, but they also have a row of teeth that have spaces in between them notoriously.
Oh, that's true.
The spaces are so that they can grab onto vegetation, but they suction off, not suction, they like scrape. I guess scrape is the right word. I'll go with siphon. Thank you, Richard. Siphon, they like siphon off all the berries off of, I think, there are only 2 kinds of berries available, but they're both red. So they have pink milk.
You know, what I noticed about that is Gwen clearly knows a lot about hippo teeth. I also saw that Richard knows so much about hippos. He was actually able to assist with Gwen's answer. That's really convincing. Rebecca, what's your answer?
Gwen was right on one thing, and it's that the hippo milk is pink. It's like a Kirby-esque pink. And this is because, as we all know, it's very sunny in the places that hippos live in Africa. And because of this, they're so fleshy and they need to not burn in the hot African sun. And so they produce their own sunscreen, and and it gets in their milk and it turns it pink.
Yeah, Gwen, do you want to respond to that?
I do. And I just want to ask Rebecca, is your sunscreen pink? Do you buy pink sunscreen?
No.
I think not. There, you've answered my question.
Okay. The sunscreen is it's called blood sweat, and it's neither blood nor sweat, but it is it's like
hippos will have nothing to do with that Hot Topic nonsense.
Blood sweat is what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just review the answers real quick. Richard's answer is green because they eat green things. Gwen's answer is pink because they eat pink things. Rebecca's answer is pink because they live in Africa and sweat blood. So three really different answers. This is going to be hard to call. The thing that always hangs me up about this show is that if the blood sweat wasn't real, why in the world would Rebecca have said that? I always circle back to this question of, if this is not a real answer, then why is it the one that she chose to give? Yeah, a lot of Rachel says, do you know Rebecca? So this seems like maybe it's just par for the course. A lot of people do not believe Rebecca's answer, except for 2MB Studios, which says Rebecca, hands down, is right. I'm not sure what got them on board. Yeah. Richard, I agree with you. That sounds like pandering to me. 2MB Studios is the one giving the degree, which means I'm going to ignore what they say. And I am going to give these 5 points to Richard because I think they live in the water. Algae is everywhere in the water. That sounds right. That sounds right to me.
Well, actually, here, you're not going to believe this, but Rebecca was actually correct on that one. Hippos have pink milk because of acid in their body that helps to create natural sunscreen, basically protect them against UV rays.
What?
Why do they call it
hipposudoric acid and norhipposudoric acid? The latter is a rusty red color, and the former is a bright orange, and they combine in the white milk to produce a fluorescent pink hue.
And they call it blood sweat.
It's called blood sweat.
Very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I'm never going to be able to forget about hippos.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
As a child, I read the George and Martha books, which were two hippos, and now all I will think is that they had blood sweat.
They were just blood sweating on each other.
Other than blood sweat.
I'm horrified. Richard, you get 5 points.
Thank you.
Rebecca gets nothing for sharing us with correct information. Thank you.
Right.
Stop saying blood sweat. I'm getting a word in the studio that I need to stop saying blood sweat. So I'm not going to say blood sweat anymore. And I'm going to move on to the second question in the second round. All right. Second question in the second round is drummer Pete Best was kicked out of which band weeks before they made it big? And why was he kicked out? Drummer Pete Best, member of a band, kicked out right before they made it big. Why was he kicked out? Gwen, tell me.
Oh, yes. Well, absolutely. Pete Best was actually kicked out of the Rolling Stones. And the reason that he was kicked out of the Rolling Stones was that Mick Jagger thought that Pete Best would overshadow him. And that was kind of came out in a later interview because obviously that would have been really offensive to the rest of the members of the Rolling Stones.
Right.
But later in an interview, Mick Jagger said he was a fine drummer and a fine performer, and he made up an excuse to kick him out. But the real reason was that he thought that everyone would latch on to Pete Best instead of him, which is so shitty. Oh my God.
I'm really just struggling to picture somebody who Mick Jagger would be worried would
Have you seen a picture of Pete Best though? Oh my God, go look up a picture of Pete Best.
Well, I won't right now, but maybe
you can't be aroused while you're online. That would be offensive.
That's the issue. That's the reason I'm not Googling Pete Best right now. Rebecca, what band and why? Why was Pete Best kicked out?
Yes. Pete Best was kicked out of Santana, and it wasn't because of anything that a disagreement or overshadowing. You know, Pete Best was an adventurous guy. I think the name explains that. And he broke both of his wrists in a skateboarding accident, and so he couldn't play the drums. So it was just kind of a freak accident. He broke both of his wrists, and you know, they had to find someone else, and that ultimately ended up being who they went on tour with, and then they made it big, and the rest is history.
Oh, a tragedy. That happens all the time in the music world.
You'd be surprised.
Skateboarding accidents, yeah. I bet. I assume. Richard, your answer, please.
The Beatles. So Pete Best was the original drummer of the Beatles, and right when they were about to record what the studio album that would eventually make them big, the studio kind of said that Pete Best's drumming style was really good for on stage. He was hit on stage, hit with the fans, but his drumming style was not great for recording because it was not like rigid enough for the rest of the band to follow the beat. So it was a really tough decision, but they ultimately decided to kick him out and replace him with Ringo Starr, who is a better drummer in the studio. Paul McCartney would later be interviewed and said, "Do you think Ringo is the best drummer in the world?" And he said, "Ringo is not even the best drummer on the Beatles."
That's correct, but you're thinking of Peter York.
Yeah.
Peter York?
Peter York was the drummer who was kicked out of the Beatles. And I love that Paul McCartney quote. He's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. Actually, on several records, Paul plays drums on the Beatles.
Yeah.
Gwen feels really confident right now.
I'm feeling great.
I'll tell you something. I've never heard of Pete Best. I've never heard of Peter York. And that's why this question exists. Rebecca, what band did you say?
Santana.
Santana.
Yeah. You know, I got a black magic woman. I got a black magic woman. I got a black magic woman. She's gonna put a spell on me. Or that's
okay.
A rough approximation.
Rebecca clearly knows what she's talking about. That was a full, I assume, verse.
She just knows the Santana song.
Yeah,
I know everyone knows Santana songs.
Everyone knows one Santana song.
Which one do you know, Gwen?
The one with what's her name, Michelle something. Oh God, I sang it in high school to no one's acclaim.
What's say the name?
I know.
Oh, Gwen, no. Richard, what's the Santana song?
It's that one that was like, "Give me your best." Or forget about it. I don't know all the lyrics. Smooth. Yes, thank you, Doctor.
You got that from the doctor in the chat. Rebecca, you're the only one who knew a Santana song. It stands to reason that you have the correct answer here. I'm going to give 5 points to Rebecca because a skateboarding accident sounds right. If someone breaks both their wrists, that seems like a legit reason to kick them out of a band.
Well, actually, here, that's not the correct answer on this one. It was Richard with the Beatles. Just knowing a song from Santana doesn't make you correct. Just saying.
Who was Peter York?
Peter York was in the Monkey.
Pete Best.
Peter York.
Oh, wow.
Gwen was just messing with you on that one.
That was really good.
Some people just want to watch the world burn, you know?
I'm so swayable. Oh. I love that. That's a fun Beatles quote too, Richard. You even had a quote lined up. Richard did his research and he's not rewarded for it, all because he couldn't even name a Santana song without help from the audience.
That's true.
Today, but you could give him points for it if you want.
My own fault.
I can't. You know that I can't, Will. You know.
I know. Sorry, Richard.
Our third question in the third round is, who was Unsinkable Sam? And what made his naval career so notable? I'll read that one more time. Who was Unsinkable Sam? And what made his naval career so notable? Rebecca, what is your answer?
Well, Unsinkable Sam, he did a lot in his career, and depending on how you look at it, he was either very lucky or very unlucky, because in his career, he served on 3 different ships, and they were all sunk. But he survived each of these catastrophic, it's a bit of an ironic nickname, but, that's how it goes in the Navy. He first served on the Nazi ship, the Bismarck, as a spy. And when that was sunk by the HMS Cossack, a British destroyer, he then served on that for a couple months doing escorts in the Mediterranean. And then that was sunk again on the 24th of October in 1941. And off the coast of Gibraltar, where he ended up living the rest of his days. And also, he is a cat.
Wait. I'm sorry. Back up. Did you say he is a cat?
Well, he was a cat. Sorry. It was a while ago, so probably.
He's a dead cat?
He was a naval seaman who was a cat.
Rebecca, you gave so many good ship words, and then you got so confident you flew too close to the sun. You added that last stupid detail. Richard, what is your answer? Who's Unsinkable Sam?
So Sam Wiseman was a naval officer who was put in charge of developing technologies for emergency fixing holes in ships. And it was an experimental program, but he just really had a knack for it. Mm-hmm. And he developed a lot of really highly regarded techniques nowadays for fixing holes in ships and submarines to prevent them from sinking. So he prevented a lot of ships from sinking. And that's why he's called Unsinkable Sam.
That is a really believable answer, Richard. Someone prevented a lot of ship sinking, and he was a human who had a last name. I like your chances, Richard. Gwen, what's your answer?
Oh, Unsinkable Sam was a World War II naval vet. And actually, him being unsinkable was a bad thing because he was assigned to submarines. And this man was assigned to 4 separate submarines in his time. And all 4 of them, upon their release, had errors go wrong. Different things, but different things go wrong with them. And they couldn't sink them. They had to keep them there for an extra week. And at one point, because he was Unsinkable Sam, he was the only thing, obviously it wasn't his fault. He didn't cause these things. They just happened. But because of the coincidence, there are documents that at one point, the Allied forces did consider sending him over and attempting to get him onto a U-boat for the Germans. He was part of an operation. It never went through. He never went. But it was proposed that maybe this could be a spy situation, not so much so that Sam could bring back information, and Sam could bring back information, but so that Sam, I can come up with names too, Richard. It's, God, what was it? Samuel Brewster. Samuel Brewster would not sink the German U-boats, so they couldn't go.
Gwen, you're throwing me into a really difficult position here because you just said I can come up with names too, but you're to read it off of something specific.
It's a real quandary, isn't it? It's a real quandary when you're presented with the truth.
Everyone in the audience believes Rebecca's stupid cat story.
I've been called a sociopath by David Thomas.
You've been called a sociopath. Everybody believes Rebecca's cat fable about the cat on the boat. I believe it might be a story, perhaps by Mother Goose. I don't believe the U.S. military would put a cat in charge of a boat. They don't even know the alphabet, for God's sakes. How would they send messages? I'm upset about Rebecca's answer. Richard had a great last name. Gwen eventually also came up with a last name.
Or red one. Who knows?
I think that my trust has been so damaged in all three of you at this point. Richard's answer, forgive me, Richard, was the most boring.
The truth is boring sometimes.
He was just a guy named Sam Wiseman who helped boats just not sink. And I'm going to go against the audience on this one. I don't usually, but I'm going against the audience, and I'm giving 5 points to Richard for his very boring answer. Sam Wiseman, the engineer, the ship engineer.
Will actually here, and you once again are going to hate this. It was Rebecca with the unthinkable cat.
Why would they put a cat on a boat? They hate water.
I think they were lonely at sea. They had to say goodbye to all their friends. They were looking for someone to keep around.
They were looking for someone to what?
To keep around as company.
Oh, just companionship.
Yeah.
So the cat had no real skills even?
No.
All right, Rebecca. That answer did not sound right to me at all. No points will be given. That answer did not sound right.
Didn't even ask my question. All right, sorry, Rebecca.
Get out of here, Will.
I will.
All right, folks. That was the end of our second round. We have one more round left. Rebecca, tell me about yourself. Tell me something about you.
Something about me or something about anything?
About you, Rebecca.
About me, Rebecca? When I was born, I was orange.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here today. Round 3, question 1. Contestants, are you ready? According to a research study commissioned by Guinness, what consumes an estimated 162,719 pints of Irish stout each year, and how?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so according to a research study commissioned by Guinness, what consumes an estimated 162,719 pints of Irish stout each year? How? How does that happen? Richard, how?
So this amount of Guinness is consumed by the bar called Craigie's in Dublin. This is the most popular bar in Dublin. A lot of tourists go there, and it hits that sweet spot being liked by tourists and locals. So they have different events for tourists and locals, and it sells the most Guinness in any single venue in the world, and that's why it consumes that much.
Gwen is already upset by that answer. Gwen, what's your answer?
Well, the sheer fact is that's not a lot of Guinness. It is a lot of Guinness, but not for a bar. But what does consume this amount of Guinness is mustaches. And they do that by when you take a sip of the Guinness, there's a little bit consumed into your mustache and a lot of it is wiped away. And they did a study and found that half a milliliter of Guinness is stuck in your mustache or beard if you have one. And then they estimated in the UK how many men have beards and how many pints those men might consume. And then they did the math out and found that it was a lot of beer. So mustaches consume that much beer.
Gwen, that's a bizarre answer. But as we've seen tonight, that seems to be what's taking home the gold. Rebecca, what's your answer?
That is a bizarre answer, but it's bizarre because it's completely wrong. And the correct answer is, of course, yeast. The yeast in the Guinness making process, the yeast consumes that much of the unfinished Guinness product, and so they had to calculate that and share it with us, the world, because we love Guinness.
Gwen, that's sorry, Rebecca. That's a very believable fact that it would be consumed by the process. I'm having trouble imagining why they would measure it in pints. I guess
because it's a fun factoid.
It's a fun way to measure.
World Records. The Guinness Book of World Records would want to tell you in pints of Guinness to make it, relatable to the average person.
Different Guinness. Also, Rebecca, I would take that personally that she mixed you up with me. I've been called a sociopath.
You know what, Richard, I liked your answer. It was measured in pints. That made sense to me. But looking at the number, I didn't even think about it till Gwen said it, but that's not a lot of pints. I mean, I'm sure I could put a good dent in that if you gave me it. What is it, a year?
I'm sure they sell more beer than that, but this is the amount of Guinness they sell.
You know what? Dr. Crumbles has confirmed that beer loss from mustache is a real thing. I went against audience last time. I'm going to go with audience this time, specifically with the doctor that we have here today. And I'm going to give 5 points to Gwen. 5 points to Gwen for mustache loss.
Mustache loss for the win.
Yes. Yes.
That's true.
Feels so good to get one right.
I bet you're psyched, Will.
Oh, I'm
Finally.
so psyched.
Points
Finally.
for the right answer.
Congrats, Gwen.
Thank you.
Moving right along, our second answer in our third round. How did the small farming village of Sodito, Spain gain over 700 million euros in 2011? Let me read that again. How did the small farming village of Sodito, Spain gain over 700 million euros? I hope I said that right the first time. 700 million euros. In 2011. Gwen, how'd they do it?
Well, it was actually an accident because their banking account number is 1 digit off from a Swiss bank account that someone had set up. I think the last number was supposed to be a 0 and they put a 1 instead. And so it went to the government of Sodito. And that's how that happened.
It was the government's bank account number.
It was the government's bank account number, and I believe they did end up giving the money back, but I think there was a donation made, like in good faith. But it was a big scandal.
That's a believable answer, Gwen. Rebecca, what's your answer?
It is actually that they happened. It was an accident. That part Gwen got correct, but unlike the rest of Gwen's answer, the correct part is that they struck the world's 6th largest reserve of crude oil. Just happened. Yeah. In the yucca fields, you have to dig pretty deep to access the roots to replant the field, and they
That makes sense too, Rebecca. Yeah. Richard, what's your answer?
So it was not an accident. It was very lucky, however, but it was very intentional. Every year, the entire village, every person buys a lottery ticket from the Spanish Christmas lottery and puts it into the pot. And in 2011, one of those tickets hit the jackpot. And everyone in the town became millionaires, except for one person. His name was Kostas Mitsotakis, and he has a documentary about this now. He was the one person who didn't buy a lottery ticket that year. He missed out on being a millionaire.
Oh, God. It's Richard. Richard, all that specific information. Oh, Richard, what a beautiful story about the Christmas lottery. 5 points to Richard. I absolutely believe it.
Well, actually, here, and you should, because he's correct.
Yeah, 2 in a row, Will. The third round is always when I hit my stride.
She figures you all out in the third round. This is where I shine.
It just warms my heart when me and Will actually can get along.
It warms my heart, too, Every time we play this game every week, and I just get mad and frustrated. So it's great when you and I are aligned.
Yeah, I love when a correct answer sounds right. We have one more question in round 3, contestants. It is, how was bubble wrap invented and what was its original use? How was bubble wrap invented and what was its original use? Rebecca, your answer, please.
Well, I find this fascinating, but when they were trying to invent ways to Gwen, why are you shaking your head? I haven't even said anything yet. Okay, I haven't even said any information yet. I haven't even
Early
as I was saying, when they were trying to figure out ways to make automobiles safer for the average consumer, they had a lot of ideas. And bubble wrap was one of the ways they were thinking, before the airbag was kind of the modern practice, they were thinking, how can we make the insides of cars safer? And bubble wrap, it disperses pressure very effectively. And so they were trying to fit that into the cars, and then they realized that it wasn't working that well for the people, but it worked amazingly for packages.
Okay. Cars. Makes sense. It pops. I get it. Richard, what's your answer?
So Rebecca is right. It was trying to disperse force, but it was actually for skydivers. In case skydivers, their parachutes didn't work or whatever. That was during the early days of skydiving where it wasn't quite reliable, 100% reliable that it works. So if they were to fall, they felt that putting a lot of air and just a lot of layers of bubbles on top of each other would be the best way to disperse the force if they were to fall.
To lower the density.
Yes.
Yeah. I am right.
I know the sentence or the science behind it.
I don't think strapping packaging to you lowers density. Richard, when were the early days of skydiving? Remind me.
This was like 1930s.
Gwen, what's your answer?
Well, honestly, it doesn't really matter if it dispenses pressure or not, because that wasn't the intended purpose. So what bubble wrap was actually invented for, it was actually originally an experiment conducted by two engineers, Alfred Fielding and Mark Chavanez, who sealed two of their shower curtains together. They were roommates, and they saw that there were bubble holes in it. And originally they thought, oh, it's almost the 60s. Let's put this on our walls, because everyone was going very mod, very tactile, as you can imagine. But that failed miserably. Even though people were on drugs, they didn't want to pop it. So then they found that it worked pretty well. Wrapped packages in it, and they founded the Sealed Air Corporation.
Gwen, you're getting some shade in the audience. I'm not gonna lie, but I love the specific names. I love the specific story, and that is, I think, the strangest. One of the strangest. These were all strange answers. I'm gonna give it to Gwen. Gwen, I'm gonna give it to you for strange decorations on the wall, which now, as I'm saying it, sounds like maybe it's not right.
Come at me, Dr. Crumbles.
We'll actually hear that sounds right, and it is.
Wow.
Congratulations.
3 questions, 3 in the third round that everyone who had the correct answer got the correct points. We are running out of time here, so we need to get to this lightning round. Audience, you get to give the points in the lightning round. The lightning round can decide the winner. If you think an answer sounds right, go ahead and type the person's name who you want to give a point to, and we're going to count them up at the end. Let's get our lightning round questions up. We're just going to do a few of these tonight. First lightning round question. Rebecca, what's this?
It's a tiny robotic spider.
Gwen, what's this?
Oh, it's a tiny jellyfish without a butt.
Richard, what's this?
It's a cluster of bacteria.
Will, what is it actually?
It's actually a jellyfish, the most venomous one in the world.
Wow, Gwen, a correct answer. Amazing. Rebecca, where is this?
This is Pamukkale in Turkey.
Gwen, where is this?
This is Las Vegas.
Richard, where is this?
This is in Honolulu, Hawaii.
And Will, where is this actually?
It's in Southeast China. It's called Baishui Tai.
No!
Did you think you were right, Rebecca?
I know I'm right. This is a picture of the Cloud Castle travertines in Turkey.
All right, well, maybe you'll get points. We'll see. It sounded right to me. One more of these, one more lightning round question. What is this, Rebecca?
Nightshade.
Gwen, what is this?
Oh, this is a toadstool mushroom on top of a toadstool mushroom.
And Richard, what is this?
This is the Californian red mushrooms, 2 of them.
Ooh, Will, what is this actually?
That might be its nickname, but it's called the Amanita muscaria mushroom.
Is that real, Will?
Yeah, the Amanita muscaria.
Wow. Well,
It gets you high as hell.
Count these points up real quick. So, Gwen, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself if you want to plug anything, and I'm going to add the extra points.
Absolutely. I am teaching a feminist satire course at 3 weeks. So if you want to be taught feminist satire by a so-proclaimed sociopath, you may meet me there.
That's very good. And she's an amazing teacher, and she's an amazing sociopath. So feel free to take her class.
3 weeks.
All right, folks. We have a winner, and I'm not going to lie, it's not very close. In last place, we have Rebecca with 11 points. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining tonight, but you will not be walking away with a diploma from 2MB Studios. Gwen, we have you finishing in second with 17 points. And with a daunting lead, Richard, you are finishing with 21 points. We heard it in the comments. We heard it from me. Everyone tonight thought your answers sounded right. Very, very trustworthy answers, Richard. So you are going to be awarded a diploma from 2MB University. Hang it on your wall. Use it to apply to jobs. Brag to your friends about it. You are our winner tonight. Congratulations, Richard. And congratulations to all of you for tuning into 2MB Studios tonight. Up next, we have another game show called Poof, the Magical Game Show. And we hope you'll join us next week. Myself and Will actually will be right here Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And have a wonderful Monday.
Good night.